Okay, a bit of a quicker All Wrestling review this week because, you know, when it comes to watching all different kinds of wrestling, it's your job to remember absolutely everything that transpires on the shows, and my brain is not as great as it used to be. So once again, I'm just going to be trimming over the stuff that I remember, and if I enjoyed it or not. So from Raw last week, Bron Breakker once again regained the Intercontinental Championship, which again, it doesn't really shock me at all, because again, Triple H has, for some reason, is a big supporter of the champions winning back the titles after a short reign. And you know what's funny? He's taken the whole complaint. He's taken our complaint of someone having a short reign and has taken it in a completely different direction that we, the audience, aren't exactly fans of. When we say we want someone to have a short reign, we don't mean they're champion for 4 weeks and then they lose the title. We don't mean that. So again, Triple H, once again, misunderstanding what we, the audience, are actually talking about. But, you know, fans tend to complain about everything. They complain about championship reigns being too long, and they'll also complain about championship reigns being too short. So, when it comes down to it, again, we'll never be satisfied, I guess. But I remember once when I talked about Bron Breakker losing the IC Championship, I wasn't the biggest fan of him losing it to Jey Uso, because I ultimately knew they were going to give it back to Bron Breakker. And that's exactly what happened. They gave the belt back to him after Solo Sikoa, the Tongas, and Jacob Fatu got involved with the championship match. And don't get me wrong, I like Bron Breakker, but that's what happens when you've got a guy involved in a storyline with the Bloodline and then you have him as a champion. So, you ultimately knew he was going to get screwed over. When it comes to the women's division on Raw, Liv Morgan had a rare match. She teamed up with Raquel to take on Kairi Sane and Io, which that match ended via disqualification. And then Rhea Ripley came out and beat the crap out of Liv, Raquel, and Dominic 3-on-1. And of course, the entire internet had to have a meltdown about it. Oh, how could Rhea beat 3 people at once? Because she's Rhea Bloody Ripley. That's why. That's why. She's Rhea Bloody Ripley. And she's a badass. Should a badass be booked to look weak against a cowardly heel like Liv Morgan? No. This is the same shit with Mercedes and Camille. This is the same shit with Camille and Mercedes when Mercedes feuded with Britt Baker. But again, fans have to always complain about everything. Again, instead of just enjoying and being satisfied with what we're getting, people have to be whingy and moany about everything. And even when Liv Morgan does get the upper hand, people find it, even when she does get the upper hand, maybe once in a while, fans are still not satisfied. Fans are still not satisfied, even when Liv Morgan does get the upper hand on Rhea Ripley. They still find ways to complain about Rhea Ripley not doing a good job of selling the beatdown or whatever. Like, seriously. Just shut the hell up. Just shut the hell up instead of stop being whiny little pricks. Just enjoy the damn feud. It irks me so much whenever I listen to fans always find something to complain about. I'm not going to talk about NXT this week because I'm actually going to be talking about Halloween Havoc because there's a few things I want to talk about on there. When it comes to NXT, sure there might have been some things I would have been interested in, but I mainly want to talk about Halloween Havoc instead of the NXT show. And when it comes to TNA, they had their show called Bout for Glory. I saw a pre-show match where Ash by Elegance teamed with Heather Reckless to beat Zaya Brookside and Brinsley Reese. But Heather Reckless is now going by the name Heather by Elegance because, you know, she's with Ash, so she's got to be elegant like Ash. So I guess that does make sense in a way. Rosemary ended up turning on Wendy Chu after they failed to win the TNA Knockouts Tag Team titles, which, I don't know, man. That's kind of why I never liked the idea of pairing a WWE person with a TNA person, because you know the tag team isn't gonna last long, and you know something's gonna happen. But one of the bigger shockers on that entire show is Jordynne Grace had finally been dethroned. I still say to this day, though you can disagree with me if you want, I still say Ash by Elegance really should have been the one to beat Jordynne Grace. But they ended up having a woman named Masha Slamovich dethrone Jordynne Grace. Apparently she was with a faction known as The System, who is Matt Cardona and Kurt Hawkins' faction. I know Matt Cardona and Kurt Hawkins are part of that faction. So yeah, there's that, I suppose. So yeah, they finally taken the belt off of Jordynne Grace, and probably by far the most random person to give it to. Again, homegrown talent. She's a homegrown talent from TNA, so I guess maybe they don't want to give another ex-WWE guy, or in Ash by Elegance's case, girl, a title. Hopefully they have Ash and Heather win the tag team titles instead. All I want is Ash to win a title in TNA. Even though she's winning titles out in the independent market, like in Australia and another place, but she's not winning titles in TNA. But regardless, I think Ash is by far the most improved wrestler ever since changing her gimmick. So yeah, Jordynne Grace has been dethroned, and it's definitely quite a surprise. I will say it's definitely a surprise, but hey, she wanted to come over to WWE, and you know, she had to drop that belt she had to eventually drop the belt to someone if she was definitely going to be on her way to WWE. And now that she's been dethroned and is no longer the champion, there's definitely no telling when she will eventually sign full-time with WWE. The other match I want to talk about is We Believe in Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth. And I will say, I'm not a fan of this match. Not because it was bad, it's because of the ending, and I think it's really, really dumb. They had JBL come out during the main event and cost Joe Hendry the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Why is the year 2024 and JBL is around? I will never understand why the wrestlers of the past can never stay retired and just stay retired and just never come back. I just do not understand it. The people of the yesteryear will always continue to ruin their legacies, all because they just cannot help themselves of just wanting to get back in the ring again. There was no reason for this. TNA really do not want to pull the trigger on Joe Hendry, and it's going to be their loss when Joe Hendry eventually signs with WWE. We all know Joe Hendry, we all know when Joe Hendry's contract expires, we all know damn well WWE is going to be swooping on him as quickly as possible. So again, why oh why are you not pulling the trigger to give him the championship? Giving him the championship will be so much easier for him to be convinced to re-sign a new contract with their company so they can stay there longer and make WWE wait even longer to eventually get their hands on Joe Hendry. But the more and more and more they stall, you know damn well when WWE get their hands on Joe Hendry, who's to say they have him win the NXT title within 2 months or 3 months? Who's to say they give him a championship and they put the rocket strap on him and he immediately wins a championship within a few months? So you know damn well WWE is going to do the one thing that TNA didn't have the guts to do, and that's make him champion. I get it, he's a sort of a comedic act. I get it, Joe Hendry's entertaining, he's sort of a comedy act. But again, people like him representing a company has a lot of great storyline potentials where you can have people say, a guy like Joe Hendry shouldn't be representing a company as the champion and all that, and all that, you know? Kind of like how Mick Foley, when he was the champion, everyone was like, a nutcase like Mick Foley shouldn't be WWE champion. In my opinion, it's you know, it's something like that. But hey, you know, again, this will be TNA's loss when they don't pull the trigger. They had their chance to pull the trigger at Bound for Glory, and they chose not to do it. So, this could very well be their loss, and WWE's gain when that time comes around. Speaking of WWE, we're gonna be going back over to SmackDown. Not really a whole lot to really talk about on SmackDown. Candice LeRae is now getting TV time, mainly because of the fact she's got a strap around her waist that is called the WWE Women's Speed Championship. Not because Triple H now all of a sudden wants to start using her. It's because of a stupid thing called speed. And that is the only reason. Naomi would defeat Candice. Hopefully they do a match between Bayley and Indy Hartwell next week, because that is something I would personally like to see. And then we had the newcomers. Raise your fist! Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin defeat DIY to become #1 contenders for the tag team titles. Immediately then challenge the Bloodline immediately after winning the belts, only for them to end up winning the belts only after 3 matches on the main roster. Now that is exactly how they could probably book Joe Hendry when he eventually comes over. But hey, good riddance. The belts are finally off the Bloodline, and let's hope and pray that those titles do not go back around the waist of the Bloodline. Keep the belts away from the Bloodline. Never make them champions ever again. The whole concept of the Bloodline, they should be banned from challenging for championships. And the only reason why the Motor City ended up winning was because Roman, Jimmy, and Jay all came down and eventually cost them the championships. But hey, the belts are off the Bloodline, so let's all celebrate. Because hopefully the Bloodline never get any more championships ever again following this. When it comes to AEW, there was not a whole lot for me to talk about. Camille had a match against Queen Abinata. She ended up winning that match. Mercedes was at ringside. Adam Cole had a segment with the Kingdom, kind of making it very, very obvious that Roderick Strong and the other guys in the Kingdom are going to turn on Adam Cole because Adam Cole's a good guy. Yeah, kind of making it pretty obvious there. But again, I do find it confusing that Adam Cole's the good guy and MJF's the bad guy when it was Adam Cole who turned heel on MJF. And I get it. Everyone switches over and the storylines end up getting confusing. But again, that's probably gonna be the one thing that's gonna really hurt this storyline, is because everyone saw Adam turn on MJF, and now Adam Cole is being positioned as a good guy, mainly because of MJF turning heel on Daniel Garcia. Like, I get it. Adam Cole's a way more likable guy than MJF. MJF is more better off as a heel. But if you wanted to go down that path, you really should have made MJF turn heel on Adam Cole instead of vice versa, in my opinion. So I feel like Tony Khan really messed up in that department. And Anna Jay was on Rampage and Collision and won both of her matches. On Rampage, she beat Layla Gray, and on Rampage she beat someone named Viva, and yeah, that's pretty much that. Penelope Ford made her return match after 2 years, and I was genuinely surprised she was out for that long. I was like, 2 years? Jesus. What kind of injury did she have? What kind of injury did she have that kept her out of action for 2 years? But she seems to be feuding with Jamie Hayter. So yeah, not really a whole lot I can really speak about there when it comes to AEW. That's really everything I really wanted to talk about in AEW. So now finally, we're going to be wrapping things up here, talking about NXT Halloween Havoc. Now, NXT Halloween Havoc, I thought, from what I saw, was impressive. We have a new NXT Women's North American Champion in Fallon Henley, because it was her entire faction against Kalani Jordan in a gauntlet match, and basically Kalani beat JC, Kalani beat Jasmine, and then Fallon Henley would end up winning after Kalani was really exhausted after everybody else. I mean, hey, congratulations to Fallon Henley. She deserves it. She's been on a hell of a roll. This heel run she's been on has been fantastic. And this is why I've been saying Fatal Influence are way better than Pure Fusion Collective. That's why. That's why Fatal Influence are better than Pure Fusion Collective. Because at least this is a faction I can take seriously. Though they might have lost to Julia and Stephanie Vacula on NXT that week on NXT before Halloween Havoc, which, considering how they've been booked over the last few weeks, you wouldn't think of them to potentially win some championship gold. Getting beat up by Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill and then Julia and Stephanie Vacula. So, but hey, you know what? Kudos to them. Kudos to Fallon Henley. But then the Aussie named Delta made her debut, and I absolutely hate her new name. I absolutely hate her new name, Zarya. I absolutely hate it. It's like, why couldn't they just kept her name as Delta? They kept Stephanie's name as Stephanie Vacula, and they kept Julia's name as Julia. Why couldn't they just done the same thing here with Delta? But regardless, Delta made her debut, and she beat the crap out of all members of Fatal Influence, pretty much cementing her as a babyface. And I'm not the biggest fan of that, if I'm being completely honest. I'd much rather her be a heel. She just feels like a monstrous person that you would want as a heel. But of course, making your women's champions heels is automatically going to make people babyfaces, I guess. Bubba Ray Dudley, for some random reason, helped out Trick Williams against Ridge Holland. and Ethan Page. I guess because they were in Philadelphia, home of ECW, they had the ECW faithful come out. Which, of course, that's always the cheapest thing that they always do. Oh, we're in Philadelphia, gotta get some ECW guys to make an appearance. To please the Phillies, the Philadelphians. But the biggest surprise to me on Halloween Havoc was a match that I felt really should have been the main event, but it was the second match on the card. That was Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. I tell you, Cora Jade and Roxanne, wearing the exact same gear, just looks very, very weird. It just looks very, very weird to see them actually wearing matching ring attire. And they took on Julia and Stephanie Vacula. The reason why this match was so shocking is because Roxanne Perez was the one that ate the pinfall loss. I and many others predicted that Julia and Stephanie were going to win the match, but we all predicted that Cora Jade was going to be there simply to take the pin. Even I said this on one of my episodes of All Wrestling Review when I talked about Roxanne beating Julia. But hey, hell, I've been proven wrong. But I guess I was proven wrong. And I feel like Roxanne taking the pin here, Roxanne really should have only taken the pin when she eventually lost the championship, but I guess this establishes Stephanie Vacula as the next challenger to Roxanne's championship. Now, does Roxanne drop the belt to Stephanie Vacula? I personally hope she does, not because I'm sick of Roxanne as champion, I just think her reign has gone on long enough and I think it's time for her to lose. Like, if you want to establish Julia and Stephanie, you need to have them win. One other thing that really irked me was that few fans were saying that people are putting age as a factor into match results. Like, someone literally said Julia losing made sense because she's older than Roxanne. She's 30 and Roxanne's like 22. So it made a lot of sense. Why, oh why, does age need to be figured into anything? Why are we figuring the age of these people? Oh, this person's older, so the older person should lose and the younger person should win all the time. Like, seriously, why are we throwing age into this? I just cannot stand the excuses that people make. I just do not like the excuses that people always have to make just to try and justify something. Age does not matter. If age is such a factor, why is LA Knight a champion? Logan Paul, as much as I hate him, he should still be the United States champion then, if we're going to go by age. If we're going to go by age, then Motor City shouldn't be the tag team champions because the Tongas are younger than them. It is stupid. It is stupid and it's a complete lame excuse. First I hear the excuse of Julia and Stephanie don't have good English. They need to work on their English. And now they're throwing in their age as a reason why they shouldn't be champions. Give me a break. Age doesn't matter, and it's never mattered. Preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. So that's the end of this All Wrestling Review, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give me a thumbs up. Comment your thoughts down below. And I'll see you all next time.